Hey guys, so as a lot of you know, I recently got back from a trip to Europe and I've been getting a lot of questions on why I went, how I went, and how to travel on a budget. So I've put together some tips and tricks on how you guys can do that. So let's get into it. The first thing would be when you're looking for flights, put your computer in incognito mode or in a private browser. So each time you go to the different sites and check for flights, if it can track each time you're checking, the price is going to go up each time. So if you put it in private mode, they can't track you, and that way your flights will stay about the same price. My next thing would be, just because you're booking 6 months to a year in advance doesn't mean that the flights are going to be cheaper. So I know personally, the first time I went to Europe, I booked my ticket about a month before I left. And this most recent time that I booked my ticket, I booked it about 2 months in advance, and they've been decently cheap. So just because you book it way in advance doesn't mean that it's going to be any cheaper. Another thing for flights would be open to more budget airlines. So I know a lot of people, when they're looking for flights, they look for the bigger names, but where you're gonna get the deals are the more budget airlines. So I personally have flown with Norwegian a couple times, and they're a really nice airline, and just because they're not a really big name doesn't mean it's any less quality. In terms of flying, I would say to make an account with the airline. So when you make an account with the airline, they'll give you points each time you travel with them, and those points can add up to either cash equivalent. So I got about $20 off my last flight in points, or they can be things like free meals on your flight. So it's really important to make those accounts, and that way you get the rewards that come with the airline. For flights as well within Europe, again, kind of on the budget airline thing, you can find super cheap flights. So if you are in Europe for like 3 weeks or even 2 weeks, you can find super cheap flights out of wherever you're staying to go to another country even. So you can get flights as cheap as like 20 or 30 euro, and it's actually sometimes going to be cheaper than the train rides to the other countries. Okay, so another really important thing that can help you save money is to fly into a different location than your final destination. So for me personally, it was way cheaper to fly into London and then take smaller within Europe flights to like France and Italy and Spain. So if you just like check around and see where the cheapest place to fly into is, that can save you a lot of money and save you money for the trip to the next location. Also, when you're booking flights, be flexible for when you are wanting to fly out and come back. So if you look at the low fare calendar, or like the flexible date calendar, it'll give you options on, like, say maybe flying out on a Friday is $300 and flying out on Saturday is going to be like $600, $700. So you can honestly save so much money just by booking one day differently. Also, be really aware of what time your flight gets in. So you may find a cheap flight into wherever you're going, but it may get in at like 11:45, almost midnight, and by the time you get to where you want to be, everything's going to be closed. So if you need a train to get into town, the train will be closed, and you may be stuck in the airport or the train station overnight if you can't find anything else to do. So a couple sites that I use for flights include Google Flights. Google Flights is a really good one because they have the flexible date calendar, so that's always really nice to have to look at. Another site that I use is Skyscanner. I know if you want to travel within the US, you can find some pretty decent price flights. but also you can personalize. So if you wanted to fly out of Oakland or LAX, you can pick wherever you want to fly out of, and they have the option to search to fly anywhere. So if you're just kind of wanting a trip to go wherever, you can press the option where it says fly anywhere, and it'll give you the different pricing for all the different places you can go within and outside of the US. Another tip I have would be to book separate tickets. So I know personally when I went to Europe for the first time, I didn't know how long I was going to be staying there. So I just booked a one-way ticket and it was super cheap. I think it was under $200. Granted, I didn't know how much the flight home was going to be because it was around the holidays, so they could have skyrocketed the prices and I was just going to be stuck. But I know if you know when you're leaving and when you're returning, it's actually a good option to check the prices of the separate tickets. So you just book one right after the other, and it can save you anywhere from like $50 to maybe even $100, depending on where you're flying. My next tip would be open to getting bumped off the flight. So especially if you are not in a hurry, or if maybe it's not an international flight, be open to getting bumped because you can get free upgrades, you can get vouchers, which are basically like cash, and you can even get upgraded to like first class on a flight. I have yet to do this on an international flight, but I know within the US it happens quite often and you can get a lot of free stuff out of it. Okay, so another important thing when you're traveling on a budget is accommodations. So I know Airbnb is really popular. Personally, even Airbnb was a little bit pricey, so I for the most part stayed in hostels, and hostels can be anywhere from like $15 a night to $100 a night depending on your budget. I was usually conscientious of the ratings of the hostels, so just because it's super cheap, it could either be in a sketchy area or it can be far away from everything that you want to go see. So if maybe you're saving money on the hostel, but then you're gonna have to train in for an hour, and that's gonna cost you money every day. So it's nice to check where the hostel is in terms of what's around you, and also make sure the area that you're staying is not sketchy and that you'll feel safe walking around. For hostels, I used Hostelworld. It was really nice because you can see the ratings, there's tons of reviews, pictures, and on this site or the app there's even maps of what it's located near, so you can zoom in and see what you're close to. So when it comes to traveling, especially in Europe and abroad, I recommend getting whatever transportation card option they have, especially if you're there for any more than 3 days. And when you get a card, this just allows you to basically go all day and just keep swiping the card and go across town, back, and then you don't have to worry about strategically planning your day based on train tickets, which those train tickets and metros can add up. So it's actually just cheaper if you get the pass. Another thing for transportation, which really helped me kind of get an idea for wherever I was the double-decker hop-on, hop-off bus tours. So in Europe, these are super popular. Basically anywhere you go will have them, and the pass usually lasts for about 24 hours. Sometimes they run specials, and they'll extend it for like 48, or I know when I was in London, they had a special where it was the same price and it lasted 48 hours, and it came with a river cruise. So that was kind of cool. You can see where you are from a different point of view. But these are really nice because, say like the first day you kind of just want to get your bearings on what you want to see, you can just take the bus tour around and it'll take you to all of the major sites and key places wherever you are. And then the nice thing is you can choose to hop off at that location, or say maybe you want to, the first day, just ride the bus around, scope it out, and then the next day come back and take the bus, which you've already paid for, and you take the bus and to the stops that you wanted to visit that you saw the previous day. So it's really nice. You can just hop on, hop off, and it's a great way to see the sights and also get some transportation included. Another thing I recommend would be to book your tickets for places in advance and online. So especially in Europe, there's major attractions like the Louvre, there's the Vatican in London, Tower of London, all those kinds of things. It's a lot easier if you book your ticket, say like on your phone a couple nights before. That way you can just secure your spot, because they do only allow a certain amount of tickets sold each day, and that way some places you can skip one of the lines. There's generally a security line that you can't skip, but you'll at least be able to skip the first line for the tickets. So a lot of times places will have student discounts, especially at major attractions. So for things like the Louvre or the Vatican or Tower of London, even the bus tour has a student discount. So wherever you go, if you have your student ID or even take a picture of your ID, they'll generally have student discounts, which could save you like $10, $5, but at least you're saving some money. Another tip for saving money would be to not check a bag. So I would try to carry on if you can. That'll definitely save you money both ways on a checked bag. Another thing would be wear your largest items. So if you have a large coat or jacket or your boots, wear those on the plane. That way you're saving space in your suitcase, which can help you not have to check a bag. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope I answered a lot of questions that you guys had on how to travel on a budget. If you have any more, I'd be more than happy to answer them. So just put them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them in another video. Be sure to subscribe and like this video because it really supports my channel. Thanks. Bye.